of this, or is it all profanity?
It's all there's too much profanity.
Okay, we're going to have a bloop version for you, but right now, I'll give you the gist of it if you're listening on the radio. This is Paul Joseph Watson's article. He said, shocking footage out of Ferguson, Missouri shows a police officer pointing his gun directly at protesters and the press while remarking, "I'm going to effing kill you." And the journalist says, oh, he's got his gun raised, and Joe Biggs was standing right there and said, his gun is pointed. And the journalist says, my hands are up, bro, my hands are up. And the cop says, I'm going to effing kill you, get back. He goes, you're going to kill him, says another individual. Did he just threaten to kill me? And then when they ask the cop for his name, he says, go F yourself. And so that's now become a hashtag on Twitter. Hashtag officer go F yourself. They spell it out. And we've got a couple of tweets here from Joe Biggs. He said, I witnessed a cop stick his M4 in a journalist's face and say, I'll effing kill you. A female officer had to pull him out of the young man's face. Mikhail Thalen tweeted that he had 3 riot cops freaking out and pointing shotguns at him when he got isolated behind a building after everything started happening. Well, this is something that is very new. I can remember... it's probably been about 6 years ago when we adopted my daughter from China. And when we were it was a massive, crowded retail street. I mean, it was totally packed. And you can't imagine it unless you've been to China or, let's say, New York on St. Patrick's Day parade. I mean, it's that kind of a crowd. Shoulder to shoulder, everybody is packed. They pulled up in an armored vehicle, and this security guard gets out. He's got armor. He's got a helmet, kind of like what you see the police wearing now, and a shotgun. And he levels the shotgun. He doesn't have the muzzle up. He doesn't have the muzzle down. He points it at the crowd, a shotgun, and we were right there. And I could not believe they would be that irresponsible. I said, I've never seen anything like this. And, of course, that is what's become standard operating procedure for our police now. That's been happening all week. Joining us now is Alex Jones to comment on this. Alex.
That's right, David. As I announced yesterday in the third hour on air, I've gotten so upset by all of this that when I start having literal anger issues, that's not fake on air when I'm blowing up, folks. That's going on behind the scenes as well, because I'm so upset that I decided to just take a day off and get a lot of different errands and issues completed. They're more administrative around the office and the house. And the reason I raise this personal point is it shows how serious all of this is, that never in almost 20 years on air, never have I had to actually just take myself off air. Even though I wasn't making that big of a fool of myself on air, I was just getting so physically upset and disgusted that there's no point in just getting on air and venting a bunch of anger. And the lesson out of that is, I'm on one extreme getting so angry about things. Other people are on the other extreme, not caring or thinking they don't have any power. And then I watched the live streams last night. This is not a fake reality TV show. This is the real world and the end of our country basically collapsing. We're going to skip this network break, and I'm going to be gone by the bottom of the hour and turn it over to David Knight. But the reason I preface all of this with my own personal feelings on the subject is this is how a country dies. This is how tyranny comes in, by increment, by successive approximation. And then finally, they're not taking baby steps. They're not taking giant leaps. They are jumping light years ahead in destroying our republic right in front of us. And the police, the looters, the demonstrators, the media, the American people, we're all being manipulated by very sophisticated psyops. So I wanted to take off today so that last night and this morning I could really just sit back, read the news, take my time trying to figure out what's going on exactly, and to really try to gauge the larger situation. And stepping back and watching the HD reports filed at Infowars.com and that are on the YouTube channel and on PrisonPlanet.tv, it is just so over-the-top, incredible, the picture that has emerged clearly now, several weeks into this Ferguson crisis. The feds have been there since day one. The feds feds are undoubtedly manipulating this through CNN, MSNBC, the new Black Panther Party useful idiots, and the Ford Foundation type operatives that are on the ground there. We're going to get into some shocking evidence of that here in just a moment. The police are clearly being given orders to brutalize the press and to treat the press with hatred and to assault the press and to threaten to kill the press. In fact, I may just have to order the reporters back because they've got a lot of courage and they keep going up to the very front lines where reporters are being arrested left and right in front of them and brutalized for no reason. Our guys are now there standing there shooting HD video as the cop sticks the M4, M16 variant to the chest of reporters and points it at them as well and says, "I will effing kill you," with an arrogant, belligerent, that doesn't have a mask on, anything. No one's arguing with him. No one's telling him he's a piece of crap. No one is antagonizing him. They are targeting the press. And in the Joe Biggs video that Marcos Morales uploaded in the middle of the night last night, police arresting journalists in Ferguson, Missouri. That's the headline. And I sat here this morning watching it. I cannot figure out a way to describe what is in this 5-minute video. This video, and there's a whole bunch of them, I can't quit watching because as an investigator, as somebody that's been doing this for 20 years that knows how provocateurs work, who's gone up against them scores of times, I've had the Army try to set fires in Florida and blame it on me. I have been chased through swamps by dune buggies. I mean, I'm just telling people that's in Police State 2. I've dealt with this over and over again. I've dealt with this trying to build a memorial church in Waco. I've dealt with the Klan threatening to kill me and finding out they're federal agents and informants. So when I tell people something, I'm going off experience. We saw the feds dressed up like anarchists, also running anarchists under them in Seattle in '99 at WTO. We've caught them in Ottawa, Canada. At the G20. We've caught them in Pittsburgh. It is so criminal to watch the police run a false flag. I've now analyzed these videos, and in the same video that's on the YouTube channel, I don't even think we've got it on the website yet, titled Police Arresting Journalists in Ferguson, I cannot even come up with a proper headline for this video because the guys are filing this report, and it's narrated by Biggs, but they just glaze over the cop pointing a gun at him and threatening to kill him. I'm not saying that's bad they glaze over it. They glaze over all these other reporters being brutalized and attacked. And then right there, Biggs clearly completed the mission and discovered a cache of Molotov cocktails deployed in an area strategically, and I've seen this over and over again, by the feds, guaranteed. He goes to all the police, tells them where it's at. They look at him and then are clearly in the know and say, "Get out of here," and do nothing. And then you see the press conference and the gun and the same Molotov cocktail that they had at the press conference 2 nights ago. I'm here to tell you, looking at these videos, the evidence is all there. We now know this may have been staged from the very beginning. This whole thing is a psyop, just like the IS terrorists chopping the U.S. reporter's head off. That's a real reporter. That's probably a real beheading. ISIS is real. IS is real. It's called Al-Qaeda in Iraq. It was allowed and armed by our filthy, degenerate, wicked, globalist occupied government to attack Syria. And they're on the news this morning separately. I mean, we're just living a psyop. Saying we've got to go back into Syria. IS is using eastern Syria to go into western Iraq when our government set them up and turned them loose. It's like throwing a baby with cuts on its back into a pool of starving piranhas and then saying, "Oh my God, we've got to do something for the baby." I mean, you can see the problem, reaction, solution. And just like the cops have been caught under Fed control in every major event provocateuring to give them the fake moral high ground, there's that famous video from 5 years ago where the government even did an investigation. The RCMP had to admit that they did it. They had huge, cops in anarchist garb beating up other cops, and you could tell that it was about 95% fake. They were actually hitting them pretty hard. But the cops were winking, and they were all wearing the same boots, and they got caught. That was in the Toronto Star. You got caught. They did provocateuring at the G20 in London. And then a guy delivering newspapers and chewing gum to the corner store showed him his ID, said, "No, I'm delivering food into the conference area, into one of the gift shops." And they just beat his brains out in front of everybody, and then said that he had assaulted the police until a video got released, and they just beat his brains out in cold-blooded murder. And so what you've got is cold-blooded murderers being hired for the police departments, cold-blooded bullies, and unstable mental patients who basically shouldn't have a job pushing a mop, are being put in and promoted to create this culture now of a full conversion of the police into a vicious, hateful, occupying army who are targeting the media on purpose. Now, folks, we can keep more than one thought in our minds at the same time. We can chew bubble gum and trim the hedges or walk and chew bubble gum. It doesn't mean the thugs are good. It doesn't mean the looters are good. We're there exposing them and reporting on them throwing rocks at the police, and they're not being arrested when they do it. We have video of them throwing rocks at police. I'm going to explain this. In the same area, they're brutalizing journalists and targeting them with a hatred, as if journalists are all convicted child molesters. The journalists are professional in almost every case while they're being assaulted by out-of-control police attacking the First Amendment, attacking all of our freedoms. This is vomitous. Then you expand from that to people throwing bricks at the police, and the cops stand there like they're ready for it and just let it bounce off their body armor. And then you got Molotov cocktails cached right over by an area by the police. Biggs discovers them, goes to them, and the cops look like they have an adrenaline rush, like they've just been caught in something. So they're clearly working with the new Black Panther people to stir things up. They are clearly working with other Justice Department provocateurs that are on the ground. I don't think the police themselves are involved, but they know. They're not stupid. This is disgusting. And this whole Ferguson thing is a laboratory to shoot HD video and reports to train departments all over the country. The feds do the training. They send in the armored vehicles. They give the state the money. They give them the Army manuals to point guns at people and to shoot protesters in the future lethally to stop peaceful protesters as a PSYOP. That's in the new Army manual. This is all earth-shaking. Of course they'll throw Molotov cocktails at themselves to stir this up and to give the police state the moral high ground. If they'll have official manuals, April of this year, released last Friday, saying they will kill in a crowd of peaceful demonstrators. They will shoot for the chest, the testicles, the spine, the heart, depending on if they want to wound someone to scare the crowd or if they want to kill. And it gives authorization, not in law, but in doctrine, to murder Americans en masse. And they will do this when the collapse comes and when cities are burning. It will be legitimate when the military goes out there and mows down looters. But remember who lit the fuse. Remember who started the whole thing, to where they will make us, the middle class, beg for martial law, beg them to save us. And when the police fail and when they fall, then they're going to bring in the UN troops. And I was told this by FBI agents and Army generals and Air Force generals, and I was told this by CIA people, all told me the same thing from the time that I was a little kid right up until my 19 years on air, talking to these people on air, Marine Corps colonels, you name it, you've heard them all. And I'm telling you, I was a little kid listening to FBI people my family knew, and John Birchers my family knew, and people that worked in secret operations, some of my family, all knew about this and said this was the plan of the globalists to bring America down. And folks, we are actually beginning to see it right now unfold in front of everyone's face. Now, if they fail, if we expose this and they back off, that's good. People say, oh, where's the martial law? You're seeing martial law beta tested when they are targeting reporters. We now have it on video while people throw rocks at the cops. Okay, I'm going to explain that again. They are clearly being told to stand down while this goes on. I'm going to come back and finish up and then throw the baton to David Knight. The reporters are coming up in the next hour, but we've got to go.